Around this time of the year, the world stands to observe Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So in today's magazine, stories of determination and hope surrounding that very topic. I'm Theodore Henry, and this is another Wednesday edition of Jamaica Magazine. Welcome.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Wednesday, October 13. The COVID allocation of resources for employees CARE program has been increased by an additional $5.3 billion. The allocation is included in the first supplementary estimates and will be administered under the Serve Jamaica program to provide further support to the vulnerable population. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark gave the breakdown in Parliament yesterday. It includes an automatic one-off payment of $10,000 to all heads of PATH households and NIS pensioners receiving $10,000 or less per month.
It's automatic, there's no need to apply. It will be implemented by the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, Minister Samuda, in coordination with the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service.
$1.3 billion will provide a one-off grant of $10,000 to employees on the PAYE system who earn a gross salary less than or equal to $15,000 weekly or $60,000 per month. It also includes self-employed persons whose statutory income is less than or equal to $60,000 per month. These persons will need to apply through the We Care program portal. Meanwhile, the Set Cash program will provide a one-off automatic grant of $18,000 to persons already in the Set Cash database and are still unemployed. The support continues with all qualified social pensioners receiving an automatic one-off grant of $10,000, while $100 million will each go to the Poor Relief and Public Assistance departments. The government will also embark on a $1 billion CARE food package drive in partnership with members of parliament, councillors, NGOs, churches, and the private sector. This will facilitate the distribution of food packages to between 200,000 and 250,000 persons.
At this time in the pandemic where we're seeing the effects, food prices are up, we are going to respond in a massive way, in a food drive to the tune that we have not had, certainly that I have not seen in my time.
The Attorney General's chambers will soon be perusing amendments to the Child Care and Protection Act, the Adoption Act, and the Maxfield Park Center of Excellence Cabinet Note. State Minister in the Ministry of Education, Robert Morgan, made the disclosure during Tuesday's State of the Constituency debate in Parliament. He said the new legislations will improve the standard of care in the children's homes.
In consultation with my lead minister, we're formulating a new standard for children's homes in Jamaica, where we have an objective test to determine the quality of care that is being given to children in these places.
Minister Morgan says developments such as a therapeutic center at Maxfield Park Children's Home will be replicated in other facilities across Jamaica. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is calling for unity as the country executes its COVID-19 vaccination program to recover from the coronavirus. Mr. Holness asserts that citizens have a duty to take the available COVID-19 vaccines so that the country can return to normal operations. According to the Prime Minister, it is unfair that those who have been fully vaccinated are not benefiting from being inoculated, as the country's take-up rate is too low to achieve herd immunity.
If it is that we are moving out of a pandemic by taking the vaccines, we should not be making special allocations for COVID care when there are other illnesses that people have had to be putting off treatment for in order to facilitate COVID care. That can't continue. Why should children who have taken vaccines not be able to go to school? They should be able to go to school.
Prime Minister Holness made the comments as he toured vaccination sites in East Central, South and Southeastern St. Catherine. The tour forms part of the government's wider COVID-19 vaccination mobilization and communications campaign to increase vaccination numbers. Up to October 12, only 10.9% or 841,024 Jamaicans have been vaccinated against COVID-19. More than 125 persons of the homeless population in the corporate area have been vaccinated. The information was revealed by Mayor Delroy Williams during yesterday's monthly sitting of the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation, KSAMC. Mayor Williams said 60 individuals were inoculated on World Homeless Day, which was observed on Sunday. Those persons joined 65 other homeless citizens who were vaccinated in August.
On Sunday, the vaccine administered was the Johnson & Johnson, so one shot. So those persons are fully vaccinated. The original 65 persons are scheduled to have their second dose on vaccine on Thursday of this week.
The vaccination exercise, which is ongoing, is organized by the Poor Relief Department in collaboration with the Ministry of Health and Wellness. It is conducted at the Marie Atkins Homeless Shelter in downtown Kingston. And finally, the Mandeville Regional Hospital has received a donation of a urology machine, which will advance the quality of patient care at the facility. The donation will allow patients to receive on-the-spot diagnosis and medical management of their condition. The machine, valued at about $700,000, was gifted by the Rotary Club of Mandeville. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
The Cannabis Licensing Authority is committed to supporting the creation of a regulatory framework for the growth and sustainability of Jamaica's medical cannabis industry. We carefully assess application forms for businesses and individuals interested in becoming partners in the industry. Along with other ministries, departments of government and agencies, the authority endeavors to preserve the integrity of the industry through compliance. This is all done to ensure that the industry is operating in conformity with Jamaica's international obligations. Call or visit our website to find out more about the work of the Cannabis Licensing Authority.
Katie and Kamala share what they've done to fight and overcome the debilitating effects of the Big C.
For many, it starts with a little itch on the breast, a lump in the air perhaps, a bit of redness on the nipple, or even nipple discharge. And you know it's not breast milk. Besides, you're no mother, neither are you pregnant. Research shows that breast cancer remains the leading cause of cancer-related death among Jamaican women and is the most common cancer among women worldwide. And even with increased screenings and public education, it still remains a major health challenge. Two women, Kamala McWhinney and Katie McCoy, both share a similar story. For them, the common denominator is breast cancer. Kamala is in remission and Katie is undergoing treatment. They now meet for the very first time to have a conversation about their mutual foe.
So Katie, tell me when and how you found out that you have breast cancer.
Oh boy, well, it was in April. I remember I was in the shower and I felt a lump, but it was huge, so I wasn't thinking it was anything because I'm always doing my self-examination. And when I felt the lump, I said, maybe it's just premenstrual syndrome. So I remember after a shower, I went to my husband and I said, you know, feel this, you know, it's a lump and it's huge. And he said to me, maybe it's, you know, premenstrual syndrome. So when my menstruation came, I realized the lump went away, and then in May, it came back, and it came back sooner than the time I had felt it in April. So I said, no, you know, I need to go to the doctor and check this out. So it was the week after my 31st birthday. So I went to the doctor and she was like, okay, let me see what the girl's up to, you know. And she examined the right breast, and she said, okay, I'm going to let you do a mammogram and an ultrasound. But she was like, oh, they're just going to aspirate, it is just fluids. And when I went to do the mammogram and the ultrasound, the doctor said to me, she said, she said to me, this is not something that we're going to aspirate. You have to do a biopsy. And right away I said, are you serious? And she said, whatever it is, you're going to be okay. And when I did a surgical biopsy on a Monday, and I waited on the result for about 3 weeks, and my doctor messaged me and said to me that I have the results and it's not good. What was your experience like?
So interestingly, I was 30.
Wow.
So I was a little bit younger than you. And
Right.
I was having a persistent itching in my left breast. And I
Right.
was wondering what's causing this. Is it my detergent? Is it my fabric softener? What's causing this thing to be itching so much? So one day I was just at home after work on the couch watching TV, and I was scratching the itch.
Right.
I felt something in my left breast, and I said, but it's not in the right breast. So
Wow.
then I was like, this needs to get checked out. So it took me a while because I was just in shock, like, what could this possibly be? So maybe about 10 days or so after, I worked up the courage, made the appointment, and went to the doctor. And then from that now, my GP said to me, go and get an ultrasound done. Got the ultrasound, and the results said that there's a mass in the left breast that is strongly suspicious of malignancy.
Wow. Yeah.
And then from there I did a biopsy, and it was October 18th that I got back the results in 2013 that it was in fact breast cancer.
Wow. What was it like when you found out? What?
So I was alone in the doctor's office because I was living out of town at the time.
Okay.
And my doctor said to me, I've never seen anybody take it quite like you, because I wasn't crying, I was asking questions, I was seeking information. And then the very next day my mom came down and she was by my side for the whole journey. So of course the emotions hit me when I left the doctor's office, and I know I had to call her because I knew she was going to be devastated, and that's what made me start crying.
Wow. Yeah. Yes, it can be quite overwhelming. I can really relate to that. It was hard. It's like your life changes completely. My life has now become about doctor visits, Everything is about, going to the doctor maybe once per week. It has changed completely. It makes me realize how precious, life is. It's delicate. Don't stress too much on the small things. Everything you'll manage to be where you are now, like this?
Actually, no. I had this hope that it wouldn't always be this rough, but in terms of always sharing the story as much as I am now, 7 years after,
Right.
I never thought that I would be sharing it from a place of positivity all the time, because I was angry. I was sad,
Yeah.
I had so many questions, like, the typical question of why me? I tried to eat healthy, there was no family history, all that type of stuff. But as the months and the years roll on, it gets easier to talk about it and to share details of the journey.
For me, my thoughts, I think that my body, had betrayed me so much. It was really hard.
Like when you look in the mirror now, Kadia, what do you see?
For me, I see a woman of confidence, I try to be strong. I look at myself and I see the scars, I see the bald head from chemotherapy, and it made me realize that I'm fighting a battle and I have the willpower to live, especially for my daughter and my husband. Were you always this positive?
Not at all. If it wasn't for COVID, I'd come and give you a hug right now. Because I know it's emotional talking about, especially so fresh in the journey. So I'm sending you love.
Thanks. I'm not always positive, but I try to be as, like out of 10, I break down like maybe 1 out of 10, but 9 out of 10, I try to stay as positive as possible. and especially that I have a good prognosis, it keeps me going because all my scans came back clear. So it's just really doing chemotherapy, radiation, and then maintenance for probably about 10 years. But I try to stay as positive as possible.
Just to respond to that, Kadia, even when I was going through, especially because I'm a mental health professional as a psychologist, I knew that it's not practical nor reasonable to ask anybody to always be upbeat, to always feel like, yeah, I want to testify today. So I went sometimes for 7 days without wanting to talk to anybody. Like there was real depression as a part of the chemotherapy side effects, and as a part of what was happening, it's a huge personal crisis to be going through. So I just want to encourage you, feel all the feelings. If you feel like crying, it's normal, it's human, it's healthy.
That's what I'm doing. So, I mean, chemotherapy is hard. I did major surgeries. I did a oophorectomy, hysterectomy, a nipple-sparing mastectomy, and reconstructive surgery. I did all that in one surgery. So it was, I would take the surgeries any day than the chemotherapy.
In terms of coping though, crying to me is a very natural part of it. Feeling all your feelings, no matter what they are on a given day, are part of it. But how else have you kept going?
Well, my daughter keeps me going. What I try to do is, in between the times that I'm feeling better, I try to go out and do something with the family. I have a mountain of support, and each bring different gifts of encouragement and support. But what was your support like?
So for me, my support system was largely about my mom. She's like my backbone, right? So my mom, and then my aunt, my cousin, and some friends who are like family.
Oh, nice.
I'm really, really grateful that I had that kind of love. So
oh, that's nice.
It's October, Kadia, and there's so many women who are going through the journey right now. What words of encouragement would you share with them?
Well, I would say to them, listen, there is no I can't do it, because you have to do it. You have to practice, gratitude. You have to try and be strong and be thankful for each day, because it gets better. You just take it a day at a time and just enjoy each day as it comes. Yeah.
Sending you all the love in the world.
Yes.
And I love that part that you mentioned, Kadia, because it does get better.
Yes.
Little by little. And no matter what the prognosis is, what I found to be essential was just keeping gratitude at the center of it all.
Yes, you have to.
Even for the small things, the smallest of things, I just had this profound sense of it could be worse.
Yes.
And just holding on to that every hour, every day got me through day by day, week by week, month by month.
Yeah.
Until October 18th, God's willing, I'll be 7 years.
Wow, that's excellent. That's excellent. So what I remember I was feeling down yesterday, and I was reading something on Facebook, and this lady, she's a 40-year survivor, and I'm like, oh my God, because that in the back of our heads we have the what ifs, what if it comes back. But I mean, seeing that 40-year survivor, I'm like, oh yes, I'm going to see my grandkids. I'm going to see my daughter graduate. So I'm just holding on to hope, faith, support, and love right now. That's what keeps me going. Yeah.
And I'm expressing gratitude for you.
Yes.
I'm glad I got to meet you.
And the same for you as well.
Much love.
Thank you.
The Registrar General's Department records show that from 2010 up until 2014, there are 1,634 death certificates in Jamaica that named breast cancer as the main cause of death. But the truth is, this does not have to be a death sentence. If this is something that you're experiencing, I hope that both Kamala and Kadia's stories will help you along your journey. And if you know someone that's in the fight with breast cancer, wherever you can, reach out and assist.
For those of us who do not believe that COVID is real and that it is here, Have you been to one of those hospitals where the wards are overflowing with patients who are trying to breathe and talk at the same time, but find it so impossible to do so? Or have you seen someone die in front of you, trying to make the next breath to stay alive? So my fellow Jamaicans and colleagues, whether you believe it or not, COVID is real. So I implore you, social distance, wash your hands, wear your mask, sanitize. Along with that, we need to keep our immune system nice and healthy, so you drink lots of water, eat your fruits and vegetables. But whether we believe it or not, COVID is here, it is here to stay, it's going to be the new norm. And remember, when you behave irresponsible, you expose all of us. So do the responsible thing.
There's no one way to truly play the beat of our Jamaican culture. No one way to unfold the depth of the various movements that are intricately intertwined with the drums, or whatever uniquely made instruments that accompany each other. And certainly, no one way to shake our hips, tap our feet, move our hands or dress to distinguish the truest form of our heritage in dance. But there are certainly several ways to tell the island's tale of musical artistry and infectious rhythms. Today, we tell the story of the African retention in one of our Jamaican traditional folk forms, gere.
Come William live with fi we gere. He-wo, gere. Come William live with fi we gere. He-wo, gere. He-wo, gere.
Gere is one of Jamaica's more than 10 traditional folk forms that are mostly influenced by our African heritage and retention. Today, we take a close look at this work of art.
Bendy like a open me bendy Zaki anyone bendy.
To observe the fundamental rhythm of this artistry, we visited the award-winning William Knibb High School in Trelawney.
Hello Bayado, hello Bayado. You write me love letter, me put it on the table, me woman come read it. Hello Bayado, hello Bayado.
Gere is a dance of African origin that is usually performed the second night after the death of a person. The dance is very lively, flirtatious, and celebratory in nature, geared towards cheering the bereaved.
I should tell you too that most of our traditional folk from the African retentions, they are more similarities than differences. And the differences come sometimes in the songs or the music instrument or some of the steps. But there are more similarities than differences.
With that said, the Gere dance is similar to that of Dinky Minnie and Zella, with more emphasis being placed on the hippie movement executed mainly by the female dancers.
The main movement for the ladies is the hippie movement, right? The hippie movement, and it's not a whiny movement. It's not a whiny movement, it's just a little hippie movement, like the mentor movement, a little dip, all right? And for the males, you'll find them doing the knock-knee like the Dinky Minnie.
The movements, although vigorous, are very subtle. The males would maintain the knock-knee position while exhibiting various styles and nuances as they execute their movement with subtle breaks towards their female partner, which is signaled by the drums.
Bamboo, bamboo,
The music and songs are done in ring game style and often employ a call and response, which indicates the type of movement the dancer should do.
So you have a caller and have the response. The group respond to it.
Like all our other traditional folk forms, the Geri dance would not be possible without lively musical accompaniment. A host of instruments are used to bring life to the dance.
In the Geri, you will see the rattle and the bass drum, which is a dominant to revival. But then the dominant thing in Geri that makes it different from Dinky Mini and the others is the pot cover. And that gives a nice sound. All right?
As it relates to costume, Geri dancers are clad in the typical African retention dress code, loose skirt and peasant blouse for the females, and tailored pants and dashiki shirt for males.
All over African retention dances, traditional folk forms, they are done with 16 persons performing, and you have 6 others outside doing the singing and playing the instruments.
Today, Geri is mostly practiced in the western end of the island, but you will also see it being performed as part of the annual JCDC Festival of the Performing Arts competition. One thing is for sure, wherever it is practiced, one cannot help but notice that Geri has its own distinctive flair, which makes it a vital asset in Jamaica's rich amalgamation of cultures.
And when you bend down low, and when you bend down low, and when inna me red away, inna me, and when you bend down low, and when you bend down low, and when you bend.
And this is where we close the show for today. Thanks for staying with us. A refresher of yesterday's journey and others can be watched on our YouTube channel. Also, visit the JIS's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages for more information. From all of us here at the JIS, I'm Theodore Henry. See you soon.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.